General Hospital. Willow and Drew's passion erupts as Michael waits and worries. Welcome to my channel General Hospital, where you can get news about. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow, and I am your buddy. Now let's get started. General Hospital spoilers suggest that Willow Tate, Caitlin McMullen, and Drew Kane, Cameron Matheson, are about to give in to their forbidden desires. With Drew grieving the death of his political mentor, it seems like the perfect opportunity for these two to take their romance to the next level. Willow and Drew have already kissed, and they were caught by Sasha Gilmore, Sophia Matson. But even worse than Drew kissing Willow is that within 20 minutes, he was also kissing her mom, Nina Reeves, Cynthia Watros. General Hospital viewers know Willow confessed the kiss to her mom, and since then, she's been fighting a losing battle with her heart. She's fallen for Drew, and it's not just physical desire. Willow has a bad case of hero worship since Drew brought back Dr. Liesl Obrecht, Kathleen Gaddy, to save her life. And let's face it, Drew is a nice hunk of silver fox eye candy. General Hospital spoilers. Will Willow Tate save her marriage? GH spoilers show that Nina came up with a bizarre plan to protect Willow's marriage. She shared her strategy with Maxie Jones, Kirsten Storms. Of course, that was after filling her in on Drew and Willow's kissing session. Basically, Willow's guilt is eating her up, and she wants to confess to her husband, Michael Corinthos, Chad Duell. But Nina said, don't do it. If it came out, it would all explode and blow up Willow's life. Nina's plan was to throw herself at Drew and keep him entertained in her bedroom on the ABC opera. That way he doesn't try to slip into the sheets with her daughter. It's all so murky, icky, and oh so soapy. But I have to give Nina props as a mom. At least she's trying to keep Willow out of someone's bed that she shouldn't be in. Even if her methods are a little strange, and I think Nina is enjoying being a distraction for Drew. But General Hospital spoilers hint that Willow is still very much hung up on Drew, even though she quit her role at the foundation to avoid being around him. When she and Drew got stuck in the elevator, she got so flustered that as soon as the doors opened, she freaked out and ran off. At the baby's funeral, Willow was talking to Michael about loving someone you can't have. He thought they were both talking about loss and death. But I'm 99.994% sure Willow was talking about Drew as being someone that you love and can't have. General Hospital. Michael Corinthos worries about Willow. Now there's been a big shift on General Hospital. Willow was at Drew's political rally, and everybody was wondering why Congressman Larry McConkey, Sam McMurray, wasn't there. It turns out he passed away from late-stage cancer. Drew was a little blindsided and upset at the death. Willow talked to Drew after his speech. When he told her about the congressman's death, she wanted to comfort him. But Drew didn't want to have a conversation about his grief in public, so they headed to his office. And it's the same office where he's been with her mom on the floor, the desk, the table, the credenza, and probably up against the drapes. The GH spoilers for Friday have Michael worried about Willow because there's a big family dinner at the Quartermaine mansion, and both Drew and Willow are supposed to be there. But Drew already told Willow he's just not up for a family dinner because he's so upset. The topic of Michael's worry is that Willow isn't going to show up to break bread with the family. Will Willow and Drew King cross lines on GH? Meanwhile, on General Hospital, we have Willow alone with Drew. She's all caught up in her feels about him, and let's face it, Willow is also on Drew's mind a lot, even though he knows the feelings they have for each other are inappropriate. But he's upset and grieving, and Willow is right there offering comfort. I fully expect that a hug from Willow will turn into a kiss with Drew, and that will turn up the heat. It's an actual fact that a lot of people get frisky after a funeral or even after they find out someone has died. Partly because of intense emotions and partly because that intimacy and bodily contact is life-affirming, and that's something people need to feel after a death. I don't know how far it's going to go, but it's going to go somewhere, I believe. What I really hope is that Michael or Nina, or even better, both of them, go to Drew's office to check on him because of Congressman Larry McConkey's death and find Drew and Willow caught. Usually, soaps don't move that fast, though. Instead, maybe Drew and Willow do the deed, nobody catches them, and then it drags out for months until Michael finally finds out. I would expect if they do get intimate, and they're not caught in the moment, a very guilty Willow hospital spoilers. How far will Drew and Willow go? I think we all knew that General Hospital was going to go there with Drew and Willow, but there needed to be some sort of catalyst, something to push them from temptation into actually doing the deed. And I do think Drew's grief is going to be that. I'm hoping just for the sheer drama and soapiness of it that Willow does on GH indeed get intimate with her uncle-in-law Drew, and then runs to tell her mom, Nina, about it. Even better and soapier would be if Willow turned up pregnant. Not that I want more babies on the set, but whenever there are two guys and you've got the who's the daddy scenario, it's an overdone soap trope. But in some storylines, it makes it even more interesting. So we'll see how far it goes, but this is absolutely what I'm expecting. Drew and his grief wind up being comforted by Willow, and that turns into kissing, groping, clothes shedding, and a whole lot more. Get all your General Hospital daily spoilers and news here at, and stay tuned for updates on your favorite characters' fates. It had been a tense few weeks in Port Charles, the kind of tension that wrapped around people like a heavy fog, lingering and refusing to dissipate. Michael Corinthos stood by the large bay window in the Corinthos mansion, his hands shoved deep into the pockets of his black pants. His mind raced as he stared out at the sprawling estate, but his thoughts were not on the perfectly manicured lawns or the soft hues of the setting sun. No, Michael's mind was far from the present moment. It was consumed with worry, confusion, and a growing sense of dread about the relationship between his wife, Willow Tate, and his uncle, Drew Kane. The tension in Michael's chest had been building for weeks, ever since Drew had returned from his search for the truth about his past. Drew had always been a close family friend, almost like a brother to Michael. They had worked together to bring down the corrupt figures that had plagued their lives and loved ones. But now, something had shifted, something unspoken yet palpable. Drew had been spending more time with Willow, too much time. And though Michael trusted his wife, there was something in the way they looked at each other, something in the air whenever they were in the same room, that gnawed at him. Michael paced the room, his mind churning. Willow had assured him time and again that Drew was only trying to help her through her recovery from leukemia. The bone marrow transplant had saved her life, but the emotional toll of her illness had been just as severe. Drew had been her rock through it all, offering her comfort and support when Michael had been too consumed with work and his complicated relationship with his father, Sonny. At first, Michael had been grateful to Drew for being there for Willow when he couldn't. But now, as the weeks dragged on, his gratitude had turned into suspicion. Michael's phone buzzed in his pocket, pulling him out of his thoughts. He pulled it out, expecting to see a text from Willow or Drew, but instead, it was a message from Carly, his mother. Carly, hey, you okay? You seemed off earlier. Michael frowned at the screen, debating whether to respond. Carly had always been good at sensing when something was wrong with him. But he wasn't ready to talk about his suspicions, not even with his mother. He typed a quick response. Michael, I'm fine, just a lot on my mind. He sent the message and pocketed the phone again, running a hand through his hair. He knew Carly wouldn't buy it, but he hoped she would leave it alone for now. He had more pressing matters to worry about. The door to the mansion creaked open, and Michael turned to see Willow step inside. Her long flowing hair was pulled back into a loose ponytail, and she looked tired, but there was a brightness in her eyes that he hadn't seen in weeks. Michael's heart twisted in his chest as he watched her cross the room toward him. Hey, she said softly, her voice like a balm to his frayed nerves. Hey, he replied, forcing a smile. How was your day? Willow hesitated for a moment, her eyes flickering with something Michael couldn't quite place. It was good. I spent some time with Drew. He helped me with some things at the hospital. There was again the mention of Drew. Michael's jaw clenched, but he kept his expression neutral. That's good, he said, though the words felt hollow. Willow studied him for a moment, sensing the tension between them. She reached out and placed a hand on his arm, her touch warm and familiar. Michael, is everything okay? You've been distant lately. Michael looked down at her hand on his arm, then met her gaze. I guess I've been a little overwhelmed with everything. With you recovering, the business, and my dad. He trailed off, unsure of how to express what he was really feeling. Willow frowned, concern etched across her face. Michael wanted to believe her, wanted to trust that everything would go back to normal. But there was a nagging doubt in his mind, a voice whispering that things had already changed, and not for the better. Meanwhile, across town at Drew Kane's penthouse, the atmosphere was entirely different. The air crackled with an intensity that neither Drew nor Willow had anticipated. After leaving Michael at the mansion, Willow had found herself drawn to Drew's place, needing to talk to him, needing to feel understood in a way she hadn't with Michael. Drew had welcomed her with open arms, as he always did. They had spent hours talking about her recovery, about life, about everything that weighed on her. Drew was easy to talk to. He listened without judgment, offered advice without pushing, and always made her feel like she was the most important person in the world. But tonight, something had shifted between them. The air between them had grown thick with unspoken words, with feelings neither of them had acknowledged until now. They sat on the couch, closer than usual, their knees almost touching. Drew's hand rested on the back of the couch, close enough to Willow that she could feel the heat of his skin. I don't know what I would have done without you, Willow said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Drew looked at her, his blue eyes filled with something she couldn't quite read. You're stronger than you think, Willow. You've been through hell, and you came out the other side. You did that. Willow shook her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I couldn't have done it without you. You've been there for me in ways that Michael hasn't. The admission hung in the air between them, heavy and loaded with meaning. Drew's gaze softened, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, slowly, Drew reached out and took her hand in his. The touch sent a jolt of electricity through Willow, and she felt her heart race in her chest. Willow, Drew began, his voice low and filled with emotion. I never wanted to come between you and Michael, but I can't deny what I'm feeling anymore. Willow's breath caught in her throat as she looked into Drew's eyes. She knew exactly what he was talking about because she felt it too, the pull between them, the undeniable connection that had grown stronger with each passing day. I don't know what to do, Willow whispered, her voice trembling. Drew leaned in closer, his face inches from hers. You don't have to do anything right now, but you need to be honest with yourself, and with Michael. The thought of hurting Michael made Willow's chest ache, but she couldn't deny what was happening between her and Drew. She had been drawn to him in a way she hadn't been to anyone else, not even Michael, and now, sitting so close to Drew, feeling the heat of his body, the intensity of his gaze, she knew that something had to give. Before she could think, before she could second-guess herself, Willow closed the gap between them and kissed Drew. It was a soft, tentative kiss at first, but then it deepened, fueled by weeks of unspoken desire and buried feelings. Drew responded immediately, pulling her closer, his hands tangling in her hair as the kiss grew more passionate. For a moment, everything else disappeared, the worries, the guilt, the fear of what this meant. All that existed was the two of them, lost in the heat of the moment. But as the kiss continued, reality began to creep back in. Willow pulled away, breathless and shaken, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked at Drew, her eyes wide with a mix of desire and regret. I can't do this, she whispered, her voice shaky. Drew nodded, his expression conflicted. I know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. No, Willow interrupted, shaking her head. It's not just you. I kissed you too. But I need to figure out what I want, Drew. I need to figure out where my heart really is. Drew's face softened and he nodded again. Take your time, Willow. I'll be here, no matter what. Willow felt a surge of gratitude for Drew's understanding, but it did little to quell the storm brewing inside her. She needed to talk to Michael, to be honest with him about what had happened tonight, even if it meant risking everything. Back at the mansion, Michael paced the living room, his anxiety growing with each passing minute. Willow had been gone longer than usual, and though he trusted her, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. His mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. His phone buzzed again, and this time, it was a message from Drew. Drew, we need to talk. Michael stared at the message, his heart sinking. What did Drew want to talk about? Was it about Willow? Had something happened? His fingers hovered over the screen, unsure of how to respond. But before he could type anything, the front door opened, and Willow walked in, her face pale and her eyes red-rimmed as if she